start with an opening statement, and then we'll take questions.
No, I appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk about the team, talk about the boys. I'm excited about the group. It's a really talented group. You know, when you look at it 3 or 4 years ago, about kind of where you want to be at in your fourth or fifth year, how you're building, how you're recruiting. It's where we need to be at, and I'm excited about it, to be able to put that kind of group on the field. Young, but very talented physically, and then prepared. So you go out and you compete well. I'm excited about the early season schedule. We always schedule really difficult. The only way to be able to compete at a national level is to go play at a national level, and you have to go expose those guys to the environment. So if you shield them from it, if you shy away from those things, you're not doing what you need to do to prepare them to be successful in the league, and then ultimately in the postseason. And so what better way to do that than to start up against the best that you can, and then to learn a lot, have a really tight feedback loop, and then to get better and learn and grow from there. So it's a really good group. It's a very serious group, which I've kind of joked about is maybe my nature. And so I've really enjoyed working with them tremendously. I've gotten a lot better, and I'm excited about the season.
Hey, Coach. In practice a week and a half ago, Devin Taylor was playing a lot of first base, and Brock Tibbetts was catching. Yeah. Taylor's listed as an outfielder, but the outfield already has a lot of depth. Is that something that you've considered for the regular season to get him in the lineup? Yeah,
absolutely. Devin's is a supremely talented kid, and he's played a little bit of first base in the past. To be quite honest, and you'd heard Matt allude to it earlier, was I've tried really hard, and we've been fortunate with the weather to be able to get outside, to get a lot of guys in a lot of different spots. One for their college career, but secondarily for their professional career as they move forward. It's important to not be pigeonholed. But with Brock's a unique player because he can play multiple positions. Brock can even go to the outfield. So we have depth in catching, we have depth in the outfield. And so as Brock migrates to catching or to the outfield, having depth in that position to be able to cover that. If there's a mid-game switch, you know, if we want to pinch hit for somebody and then have Brock go to catch, you know, having Devin Taylor at first base is a great option. Tyler Cerny has played some first base. Georgie Godey's played some first base. So having several different guys there, I think, is important. But at the same time, I always tell the guys, because I know it can be frustrating sometimes, or moving them around a ton. And I tell them, one of my biggest fears as a coach is you look up and the way the game matriculates, that you end up with a player in a position that he's never been in, or he's been unprepared to play. And that's a tremendous fear, because you're not doing that in a position where it's a 10-run game either way. You're doing that in a 1 or 2-run game, and now you've asked a guy to do something he's never done before. And so just preparing them for that. And then ultimately trying to navigate how we get all the different offensive players in the lineup consistently. Maybe it's not as a start, maybe it's a pinch hit and then defensive replacement or whatnot, but just preparing those guys for it. And Devin is certainly as talented as anybody as I've ever coached as an offensive player, so we need to find ways to keep him flexible to get on the field.
We'll go Kevin and Pete.
So far in these first couple weeks, what are some things from your standpoint that you've seen are kind of the strengths of this team, you know, on the field, and as well as some things that you would like to see maybe get polished up as the start of the year comes?
I would say our strength is likely in the experience that we return as an offensive unit. We have to continue to grow. You know, we have to be better with sinkers and changeups, cutters, splitters, those kind of things. We train a ton of fastballs up in the zone and we're really flat, which is why you saw a huge jump in us offensively last year. But sometimes we have to make sure that we can cover the bottom half. So we try to do a lot of simulations, a lot of spin ball, a lot of different variations off the hack attacks to create different profile pitches. So we have to continue to grow in that regard. As much as we do return experience, we still are ultimately young. We're still a primary freshman and sophomore team. And so I like where we're at on both sides of the ball. I like our pitching staff. We have some veterans, one that we return, and secondarily that we've recruited. But there's a lot of really talented young arms, and we have to nurture that growth. What we have that I would say that I want to continue to see is we have some really unique fastball profiles from young guys. But they're young and they throw hard, and they're going to have to grow and experience college baseball. But what I get really excited about is having the leadership within, as you could hear how eloquently Matt and Carter spoke. I get excited because I feel very confident in the group to be able to help those young guys to grow and to be able to play college baseball at this level. And ultimately, once we get into conference play, to be really, really strong and to be very deep on both sides of the ball. We have the ability to do that. So we just have to go gain experiences. We have to win and lose and stub your toe and figure it out. And then once that team creates that identity, I think it's going to be a very good team.
Go Pete and then Mason.
Coach, as you construct a roster, how do you balance between, freshmen, transfers? What's your approach to that, and what works best?
I've always been an adamant believer in the high school model. If you have a quality process, if you have a quality system, the longer someone's in it, the better they get. And for us, the draft will be a part of the program as it has been. And so if you have a guy in, it's much easier for you to be able to help him to become a star player, a great player, a game-changing player before you lose in professional baseball. But there's also a time and a place where you have to be able to impact your roster immediately. And I think with the onset of the transfer portal, I know there's a lot of maybe some downsides to it, but there's a lot of good things to it as well. There's a lot of players in the transfer portal that want to be coached, that are good kids, that they're searching for relationships, they're searching for a great education, they're searching for the investment and the technology to become the players that they want to become. And so we'll always default to high school players or young transfers if at all possible, because I think the longer we have them, the better they are. But I think using the portal judiciously and wisely with kids that have high character and high integrity to impact in a way when the draft, when you lose players to the draft, sometimes it's hard to replace them immediately. We've lost, 8 pitchers to the draft in 2 years or to professional baseball. Sometimes that's hard to replicate immediately. And so you can use that to kind of to fill in some spots there. And as long as a player fits, as long as he fits his character, as long as he fits his mentality, and he has a desire to learn and to grow, and that still fits with the high school players, then I'm open-minded to it. But we'll never deviate from a high school model, even if it takes longer up front to build, even if it is a little bit harder to do. The ceiling is just so much higher. In the long run, the moderate to long term, the ceiling is so much higher for the program when we operate that way.
Go back to Mason.
Coach, I know it's early, but looking at a full-strength roster, where does a guy like A.J. Shepard fit into that?
Yeah, AJ is one of the more talented players I've ever recruited. So he is coming off of an injury from high school, and so he's 7 or 8 months out, and so he will be a bit limited as a catcher. That can make it a little bit more difficult for him, limited defensively. The good thing for him is he's so offensive, he's so talented as an offensive player, that he's still going to have an opportunity to swing for us. So we're kind of seeing how the recovery kind of trends here. He's terrific. He's terrific. I mean, he's an elite rotator. He's on plane. He's a great decision maker. He's got great eyes. He hits the ball as hard as anybody we have to all fields. When he's healthy and when he's prepared, he will be a great option for us, either off the bench as a pinch hitter or as a DH. But like I've told AJ, it's also not fair to put a guy in there before he's prepared. You can really stunt a young guy's growth. I can remember my first year here, we had Grant Richardson, and I didn't play Grant for the first 3 or 4 weeks, and kind of got some texts and calls like, what is going on? He's going to be great. He's super talented. Let's just make sure we pick our spots here and get him off the ground, because that team was older and we had the depth to be able to do that. And then we picked our spot, and then when he played, he exploded and took off, and he really flourished. And so with AJ's injury and his recovery from that, I just think it's really important, as talented as he is, and he is supremely gifted, and as ready as he wants to be, we just have to make sure that he actually is prepared for success. And now whether he succeeds or he fails, the game will dictate, but he's got to be prepared for that. And I'm not telling you something I haven't told him a dozen times in the past week, so he knows as well. And we have a great relationship. I've known AJ for a long, long time. One of the first guys that we recruited here 4 years ago. And so there's a trusting relationship with it, and we have a long-term career for him. He's going to play baseball for a really long time, and we have to keep that in mind with his career too.
Coach, Matt said that the expectation is to win the Big Ten.
Yeah.
No other excuse. So is that the message you send to the guys from day one?
I would be disappointed if Matt didn't say that, because as a competitive player, that's what you want to do. My thing for our guys, I always tell them this: I want to be the best team that we can be in the last month of the season, and everything else is a process to get there. So, if you go win the first 2 weekends, they don't cancel the season. If you lose them, they don't cancel the season either. And so, do I think we're talented enough to compete at the top of the conference? Yeah, I do. Do I think we're competitive enough? Yeah, I do. I've been fortunate to win several conference championships over the years. There's a lot of luck that goes into it. There's some balls bouncing the right way that goes into it. A lot of them are separated by half a game or a game. But as a competitor like Matt is, and as an upperclassman, he needs to set the standard and set the expectation. And I wouldn't do anything to dissuade him or to break his confidence because I think it's justified. Now we'll have to go out and see where the chips fall, but there's no reason that this team can't have that expectation.
We'll go to Tyler on the left, and we'll finish up with Matt on the right.
Coach, has there been any guys where you've either been pleasantly surprised or just encouraged with their development from the end of last season?
From the returning players or from the new guys? Either one. I would say over Christmas break, Evan Whitaker, is a freshman arm, had made a huge jump. Really talented kid out of high school. In the fall as a freshman fall. Over the break, he really improved and got a lot better. Tyler Cerny, a shortstop out of Center Grove, made a huge jump over Christmas break. Those couple guys, Cooper Hellman's made a nice jump, transfer from Western Kentucky. Luke Centerd's done a really good job on the mound. They've made a big jump. Ben Seiler made a huge jump over Christmas break, big left-handed pitcher for us. So, yeah, there's been several guys that I would say have made a jump. Primarily the guys that are new to the program, which is typical, right? You would anticipate that after 6 months and then after Christmas break, you're usually surviving the first 6 months, and then you begin to thrive thereafter as that stuff starts to kind of matriculate and find its way on the field. So I would say those 4 or 5 guys have really been impressive.
All right, we'll wrap up with Matt.
A week and a half ago, Philip Glasser took a pitch and went to the clubhouse pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Still a week and a half till the season starts, but is there an update on his status?
Yeah, he had 2 hits yesterday, so he's back. He's back after. He's a tough kid, and you know when you step in the batter's box, it's always a business decision, and sometimes you get hit. And he was fortunate; he got hit and got a few stitches, but he was back up there. And to his credit. He walked right back in the batter's box a couple of days later and banged. First pitch you saw, banged a base hit to right field, and away it goes. So I thought he showed tremendous leadership. He showed tremendous composure, and he really kind of showed a toughness that you have to be able to compete at a high level. And not everyone's able to do that, but what a great moment for him. We all, and I kind of talked to Philip about it, was we all have moments, and they may not be the ones that we choose to show leadership and to show toughness. And this is one of them. So how you carry yourself, your body language, how you respond, all those things are going to be viewed by your teammates because Philip's a great player, and he showed himself. He showed his true colors and was terrific. But yeah, he's back at it. And as I was coming up here to do this, I saw him on the field turn double plays with Evan Goforth, and I kind of chuckled to myself because it's rather appropriate.
Great. Thanks, Coach.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much. Have a good night.